Hello everyone. Today we are again going to start the environment series in which we are going to cover the carbon sequestration and this climate fund. So basically we are going to cover that how the implementation, how the government is working for this sequestration techniques, which is quite a technical term, and how the climate finance is going to work in a different countries and what countries have led the initiative. So here we go. So the topics to be covered in that the carbon sequestration, as we have already discussed, and we will discuss it further. Secondary thing is the adaptation and the mitigation. What these two terms are, I will discuss in this further video. Negative emission and technologies, carbon capture and storage, and PYQs for some. India's mitigation programs at the end. So carbon sequestration I'll discuss in the individual slide. That's for first we'll talk about the carbon sinks. So currently if we talk about the global distribution of blue carbon ecosystem, the carbon sinks basically refers to the area in which we can store the carbons. For example, if you have analyzed the only coastal areas has been marked. I repeat, the only coastal areas which has been marked, or we can say the this snow covered areas we can also say. So these are the perfect blend we can store the carbons inside and in deeper in the ocean. For example, if you have seen the mangroves and salt marshes, this is also the potential sites, and also the seagrasses. It is also a potential site to store the blue carbon. There was a question is, was it still there? What is blue carbon initiative? So to get understand it, you simply have to understand the only gist of this topic, that the carbon which is stored inside and then deeper in the coastal terms, in the coastal areas, which is considered to be the good carbon. The blue carbon and the black carbon, they both are completely different. Don't mix them together. So blue carbon, there's the mangroves, the tidal marshes, and seagrasses. It plays a vital role to clean down our environment. So we can say that 83% global carbon is being stored under the 83% of global carbon is being stored under the mangroves. 2% under tidal marshes, as you can see the picture. These are what we the tidal marshes, the marshes and swampy areas, which is again a waterlogged area we can say, and 50% we can say about this seagrasses. So on an average, we can say the sediment carbon, the coastal habitat account for approximately half of the total carbon sequestered in the ocean sediments. 2% of the coastal habitat coverage. The coastal habitats covers less than 2% of the total ocean area. So in general, we can say the productivity of to storing the blue carbon is very good with the mangroves. And if we talk about this tidal marshes, they also have some potential, and they're also the seagrasses. Blue carbon initiative, this conservation. See, these are the intergovernmental organization which has played a vital role for the blue carbon initiative. That is Conservation International, United National Educational Scientific and Cultural Organization, and IUCN. I hope you have heard already about this IUCN. It also play a crucial role for to conserve the biodiversity, and it also provides some critical and vulnerable status to the animals which are under threat. Now we talk about the carbon sinks. The carbon sinks are again, see, in this slide we are going to get a bit technical. This atmosphere 55%. So now the carbon is under the shallow ocean 25 to 30%. The CO2 is released by the plant and biosphere 50 to 20%. So the CO2 is released by in the atmosphere, so it is already present. So what we have to do is to sequester the carbon, only carbon part. So we can done it with the sequestration into the soil. Can done that sequestration inside the ocean by growing some plants. So they intake the carbon. Suppose if we grow some plants inside the ocean, they plays a crucial role to absorb the carbon inside them. All right. Radiation management, carbon dioxide removal. We can again what we can do that We can prevent the the exploration of carbon, or we can say we can install the giant reflectors in the orbit. We can place reflectors nearby these from which the sun's rays get deflected. Aerosol in the stratosphere, iron fertilization of the sea. These are the all techniques to sequester the carbon. For example, we can seed the clouds, which will cause to the creating an artificial rain, genetically engineered crops we can grow, which could be the less emitter of the carbon. Pump liquid CO2 into the rocks as the secondary initiative is quite a costly project. Greenhouse and greening the desert. See, in almost all the countries, Western area, we can see there is a desert present. So, in case if we convert them into the greenery, there could be a highly beneficial to store the carbon and reduce the intensity of the carbon. See what why we are emphasizing more on the carbon part. It is simply because the CO2 is considered to be the greenhouse gas, and it is causing the global warming phenomena. It is boosting the global warming phenomena. But in here we are talking about the human induced carbon, not the natural made, simply the man-made carbon. So, and if we talk about again the strategy for this geoengineering, the geoengineering can be said that ocean fertilization. Number one, we will this ocean fertilization is nothing but to increasing the population of absorbing phytoplankton. See, the primary producers in the oceans are phytoplankton. Planktons are being divided into two parts. One which act as a primary producer, and secondary one they act as a primary consumer. Both are different. They can be say the copy pots and diatoms. They both are different. Okay. So if we fertilize ocean by increasing the number of population in the plankton, they also release the oxygen level. They can increase the oxygen inside the oceans, and which can and it can also play a vital role of the food chain because it acts as a primary producer of the ocean. Secondary, it is increased reflectivity from the low clouds by spraying sea salt into them. There is another technique which is not been discussed yet. Thinning high clouds. See, clouds also plays a major role for this carbon sequestration and this geoengineering to control the intensity of carbon. This will lead to the decline in the global warming. Biomass energy with the capture and storage using biomass energy and capturing CO2. Biochar, another the technical term. Afforestation, very genuine term. Increase reflectivity of crops. By increasing the reflectivity of crops, it has nothing to do with. It will simply reflect the incoming solar radiation. See, let's suppose this is our Earth. This is our Earth, and this is something in the atmosphere. The inside solar radiation is penetrating towards the Earth and reaching at the ground level. So, when this incoming solar radiation turns to be, which when at the time when it leaves the Earth, it has been captured by the CO2 gas, right? So, this cause because CO2 is not letting the outgoing solar radiation to escape from the Earth, which is also a good thing, but again, it's not natural phenomena. This is a human induced. If we increase the intensity of carbon, that will definitely lead to the global warming. Global warming. So this is the only reason why we are here to discussing about the intensity of carbon capturing it. Biochar, again, the technical term, we can gradually increase the productivity. We can reduce the N2O soil emission. We can reduce the carbon negative energy. Also, the gas methane, which is also very dangerous for the environment because it also causes the greenhouse gases intensity. Clean coal technologies. So here with three clean coal technology. We can say coal washing. This is simply this is not the washing technique, but we have termed this as a coal washing. Secondary electrostatic precipitators and tertiary flue gas desulfurization. See, sulfur XOX, SOx and NOx emission, which is required to be controlled. Like carbon is okay, fine, but this as SOx and NOx emission, they play a quite negative role in our environment. Fine. Carbon capture and storage, again, we are emphasizing on the same atmospheric dioxide, carbon capture. So biological CO2 sequestration we can done in any kind of depleted petroleum reservoir which is left abandoned. Simply the sites which has no potential or it is no use, we can sequester carbon inside or in there. Biological CO2 sequestration is simply nothing but the afforestation we can refer. Also can sequester some extra carbon into the soil of as a biochar. Bioenergy conservation plans to provide heat, power, hydrogen, etc. So, summary. So again, we are going to see the space mirrors generally to reflect the incoming solar radiation, the cloud seeding, which causes the artificial rain, reflective aerosols, radiation management, RM, CO2 air capture. So these are the some sort of technologies which can evolve and capture carbons inside them. Direct injection CO2 storage, artificial upwelling. The artificial upwelling is nothing to get the nutrient water upside and to capture it at the surface level. Iron fertilization, again, it increases the O2 level, not CO2, O2 oxygen level inside the ocean, and also it increases the growth of planktons, which again releases the ocean into the world water. India's mitigation efforts, NATCOM, green building, and GR, IHA, ECBC, NICRA, BSC, Greenpeace, FAME, LTE. See, I will discuss the FAME in separate concept. National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change. This is something bigger term, comprehensive. We have to study. National Bioenergy Mission. So we are going to talk context holistically. Energy Conservation Act. So read it further. This is nothing but to reduce down the usage of coal in the industry, and we should shift toward the green energy, which is the hydrogen liquid, or we can say the battery based energy, simply down to the coal emission. Because India is mostly reliable, it is highly reliant on the coal power. Secondly, this green rating and integrated habitat assessment, the 14 Griha Summit. Now, you guys will told me whether this Griha Summit has been held. The context of mitigating, so we can see the PY in the context of mitigating implementing global warming due to the anthropogenic emission of the carbon dioxide. Anthropogenic emission, again, this is talking about the human induced, the man made emission of the carbon dioxide, which of the following can be a potential sites for carbon. So, in the previous slide, we have seen that this depleted petroleum reservoir is a land. If you have seen the lecture when very focusing you're focusing on this lecture, you must be able to answer this. Abandoned and uneconomic coal seam. Well, that seems right. Depleted oil and gas reservoirs, that is of no use. So again, we can go the carbon inside there. Subterranean deep saline formations. So again, this is also right. So we'll go for the one, two, three. All are to the following by describe the aim of Green India mission of government. This is the question what you have to answer. Just pause the video and answer the again. Consider the following agriculture practices: contour building, relay cropping, and what we can say zero tillage. Tillage is something what you have seen in the village. It is nothing but what to harvest the land with the help of some machines, or we can do it with the manual tractor and tillage. So this is something the soil. So in the context of global climate change, which of the above help in carbon sequestration? See, zero tillage can refer to not get carbon to explode, because once this tractor um, harvests the soil, the carbon is stored inside. I mean, like the different color. So let's suppose carbon is stored there, and once this harvester is going to deplete the soil, or we can say it gets mixing the soil, the carbon stored inside will get stored to the air. This could be option. B is correct and B is correct. You have to choose in between. Contour building, relay cropping is nothing but seed cereal crop in spring. Seed clover after cereal have herbicide. Relay cropping is not a new technique. It's all been discussed. Harvest cereal crop. So this is the thing. Was the thing I was talking about. Conventional tillage. What we can do is that in such a conventional tillage, the tractors is being used. The conventional tillage leaves less than 50% of conservation tillage. So again, the zero tillage can also help in storing the carbon. Simply, it is not letting it out from the soil. That's the phenomenon. Take the right again. Conservation tillage leaves at least 30% residue on the soil surface, and this the ideal condition is our favorite to store the carbon. No tillage of leaves, soil covered 100% of that time. PYQ, the context of which of the following do some scientists suggest the use of cirrus cloud syndrome? I will discuss later. Topics to be covered again. What is climate finance? Terms related to the climate finance, review climate finance principle. So here and there we'll discuss about the financial mechanism. So terms. So these are some technical terms which always remain in the news. Carbon pricing, carbon tax. So in the carbon pricing, we'll discuss that how the company's emission is being controlled. Basically, it focuses on the government and private sector initiatives, that how their carbon emission can be controlled by providing them extra assistance of new technology enhancement, or we can provide them fund for the cleaner energy, etc., etc. So carbon pricing, secondary carbon tax, third green bonds, fourth climate resilience, and the fifth one is mitigation technique. Mitigation is nothing but a technique which can be scientifically proven. And the sixth is adaptation. So as a part of adaptation technique, we will discuss that what are the crops which are which can be adaptable as per the global warming is increasing by the time. Climate friendly investment, you can say climate related risk insurance, climate smart agriculture, payment for ecosystem, and last but not least, climate resilient infrastructure. So we'll first about the green bond structure. So what are the green bonds? So green bonds are nothing but the first green. See, we will first understand what is bond. Bond is nothing but a financial mechanism which can raise the money and which can fund your business. So the green bond is something which will be utilized by the industries as a part. So they're gonna lead in this green energy transition. So in 2008, World Bank first green bond. World Bank has issued its first green. They will fund the infrastructure companies to switch on the cleaner energy. Basically, the industries or factories, or we can say the huge technical giants, those who emit more carbon as compared to the lower one, they will use these green bonds with the support of the government, and they will get subsidy. They will get some kind of subsidies and extra benefits. Basically, they will accumulate the amount to finance their business in terms of clean energy. Suppose the effect company is based on coal fire power plant, and it requires the cleaner energy. There is some pricing mechanism is to be used. So green bond is nothing but is used for the infrastructure project part, and it's also supports the companies which are based on coal base, or we can say those who emits more carbon as compared to the lower one. The green bond is a financial mechanism for them. They can generally raise the money from the market. The concept of climate finance established under UNFCCC. So, this term was first coined in the Rio Summit 1992. And now we can see this practical implementation, that how far it has been reached in the year 2018. G20, IMF, OECD are formally recognized potential of green bond market. OECD and G20 France, they have concluded some sort of green bonds technologies, and it further OECD and IEA recommend government to consider green bond. IEA, this is the International Energy Agency. I repeat, this is not IAEA is something different, which is based on atomic energy. This is simply International Energy Agency. Also recommend, which is again a UN-based organization. Secondly, the Sustainable Banking Network, World Bank, Green Bond Symposium, first corporate green bond, the first municipality. This is the hierarchy how the World Bank evolved the green bond structure. World Bank convenes working group on the impact reporting. The green bond principle. First, templates for the green bond impact reporting. The green bond booklet has also been released by the World Bank to create an awareness in the public portion. First, green covered bond and the COP21 Paris Agreement signed and sustainable development goals. These are some sort of goals. They are in numbers, so you need not to bother about how to memorize these goals. Simply what you have just to recognize, what you have just to memorize, that where the green bond phenomena first originated, and what are the latest update. What is the latest update in them? So in the year of first sovereign green bond, G20 2016 China, and China launches G20 Green Finance Study Group. This is also part, and this also facilitates the green bond structure, create a boost for the emission of the carbon. Financial Stability Board recommends green bond again after the 20 in the China Financial Stability Board. It's also a mechanism. First, the World Bank advised first green CQ and the first sovereign green bond. Sovereign green bond is nothing but it's a guarantee bond which is backed by the government, that won't get lapsed. Like, this is not a risky part. The government supporting the government supporting the first sovereign green bond merging with the markets, and the first green commercial paper. The bond and commercial paper is a part of economy. I'll discuss further in the 2018 World Bank Guide for the sectoral issuing bonds. So, in the recent development, Sustainable Financial Action Plan, part of European, also big green monster. So, timeline you have to memorize how the issue of green bonds done in the. So, what is climate finance? We have discussed the term climate finance has been first tossed in Rio, Rio de Janeiro summit, the year of 1992. So, but at the time, the recent update meant building climate resilience. Mitigation is something different. Adaptation is in the mitigation part we just reduce the impact, and the adaptation part we just adapt. We switch to the clean. We switch. Adaptation is something else, can say a lesser term. Between the mitigation you require finance person, and in adaptation also you require financial source, but you have to compromise something. For example, you have to switch the cropping pattern. For example, the water intensive crops, you have to switch from less water intensive. You have to make a sustainable adaptability program. You have to be ready for the infrastructure upgrades. For example, if the rain intensity gets increased, you have to switch from the flat roofs to the this this style, the water gets drained mighty slow. Simply, you have to switch your from flat roofs to slopey roofs. That's all this adaptation technique. That's a simple example of this disaster management and community flood protection and infrastructure upgrades. And that's part of the mitigation program and to reduce emissions. So we can use the ethanol blending technique to mitigate the climate change. Basically, basically the E20 vehicles are pipeline to launch. E20 means simply to blend petrol with ethanol. That is to produce the less carbon and the less emission from the vehicular pollution. Secondly, the clean energy, we can say the non-renewable and renewable energy as a part. So here we will consider the renewable energy, renewable and non-conventional. So non-conventional that simplifies that we cannot store the solar energy, we cannot store the wind energy in general, but the, the non-renewable energy, for example, fossil fuels, we can store it. So there are some repercussions, clean energy. We switch to the renewable term. Application technique evolved. What activities climate finance funds? So what activities are the climate finance fund? So basically the UNFC, we have talked about the UNFCCC. It has raised the global finance reached of $681 billion, and the category that received the most in conservation of biodiversity. See, these things are much broader as we talk about the climate change variables. So climate change interlinked with the biodiversity, with the climate itself and the productivity and also the disasters that frequently occur in India and other countries. Also the renewable energy. See, basically this fund is going to enhance, to support, to boost this broader term. Climate change mitigation. We talk about this dollar is funding for the climate change mitigation, sustainable transport, because everything require money. If you are blending petrol with ethanol, the engine has to be modified, right? So that cost of modifying engine, that has to be a certain amount which can be funded by this climate finance change mitigation and adaptation. This is the data which you can see. How can climate finance support COVID-19 recovery? So something climate investment that support vulnerable population can provide immediate relief and social protection. Supporting vulnerable population and social inclusion through health. You can see there are certain cities, we can take the example of London smog, and we can take another example of what the pollution level gets increased in the New Delhi, the capital city of India, Delhi and London smog. These are nothing but the air pollution, we can say. So, how to tackle it? If we tackling it in a general sense, will create an impact of the health, and because now the PM 2.5, particulate matter 2.5, is entering into the lungs, or it's crossing the barriers, and it is getting mixed in the bloodstream of the people, and their survival rate, their birth rate, and their life expectancy is being reduced. Things are more serious as it. So principles of climate finance. So again, we'll discuss that the polluter pays. Number one, the polluter pay principle is the commonly accepted practice according to which those who produce pollution should bear the cost of managing it. Polluter pay is nothing but a broader term which suppose if an industry is polluting or it's creating the chaos, it will pay some cost. For example, if a plastic producing industry creating a pollution, polyethylene, it will pay some cost. some cost to mitigate it. On the other hand, the negative impact has been created by the industry to pay some of the amount to create the positive impact by switching for the cleaner energy term. Common but differentiated response. Again, it's a conceptual term. Let's suppose that there are some countries which has a different intensity of an emission release individually. So individually, country, let's suppose UK is more as India, or China is leading producer of carbon. So the responsibility claimed by those countries and the responsibility to the leading producer is they are different. They have to work in their individual turf to get jam their carbon emission, right? So they have their individual policies. Since India and China, they both are underdeveloped countries, so they both must have the different strategies to follow. Additionally, climate finance should be additional to existing commitment to avoid the diversion of funding for development needs climate change. This includes the use of public climate finance and by the private. We can say in the China, as it is being there are more preferring the government part, and if we see the US or UK, there are some dominant private players who can play a crucial role for their meeting. So private sector is also involved in that to control the emission. Adequacy precaution, something which the UNFCCC guidelines refer the better level adequacy, increase predictability, and INDC. So INDC is what we'll discuss in further slide. Global environment factor. This is something which is coined, with the term coined in the Rio 1994 already mentioned. This is the biggest fund of, I repeat, this is the biggest fund. Global environment factor is the biggest financial mechanism. This has been termed in the 1994 Rio Summit. It funds basically all the kind of this climate change, biodiversity loss, environment, pollution, again the part of environment, and and lastly, it also funds some terms regarding mitigation and mitigation and adaptation. So here it is. So basically, Global Environment Facility is jointly managed by the United Nations and program at the World Bank and United Nations Environment Program. Global Environment Facility funding. So GEF funding is provided by the participating donor and made available to the countries with the economy transition. Will create a difference table between global environment facility. But the one thing which have we have made it clear that global this GEF part, it is the most funding mechanism for the rest of the organization. All right, we'll discuss it further in the next lecture. All right.